ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all sizes, welcome to iTech 2019. My name is Paul Mugan. I'll be your presenter for the next hour or so, and for that I apologize profusely. Hi, I'm just going to introduce myself because I don't know the rest of you. Paul Mugan.
Hi there.
Nice to meet you.
Cat Evans.
Cat. The one name I'm going to remember. I'm just kidding. I've got you all mentally bookmarked. My name is Paul Mugan. I am a Waverly Shell Rock biology teacher. I've been in the secondary science classroom for this is my 29th year. I'm hoping that gives me a bit of street cred. I've been at Waverly Shell Rock for 20 years and have been, we'll tell you about the whole thing here as we go, but have also been, oh jeepers, a myriad of things. Coached different sports, ran a student senate for a while, everything to make us do on the side, most of which I've enjoyed tremendously. All of that brings me to where I'm at today, and I've had a chance to share this around the state for a few years, and I'm absolutely thrilled to get to share it with you today. So if you would, there will be, while I will save some time for questions, this is, we're all teachers. I'm in the same trench as you guys are. If you've got a question, just stop, we'll chat, okay? Benefits and challenges of blended learning, and what I'm going to do is take each one of these groups, look at the benefits, look at the challenges. So we're going to take a look at students, what's the good stuff, what's the bad stuff, and move on to teachers, and so on through the rest of the groups here, okay? As I looked at this carefully, I thought those were my four stakeholders. Let's take a look. First off, a little bit of what is blended learning, okay? And we will, there we go. That, by the way, that's my go-to music for, hello, welcome, welcome. You're the one that gets to share his name in front of everybody. Hi, I'm Paul from Waverly, and you are?
Barry Brill.
Barry, nice to have you, Barry. Okay? There's the same level of over-enthusiasm that my students don't like. So blended learning. Blended learning is any combination of a face-to-face course and an online course. Okay? Educators have been blending every technology that's ever happened since the slate. Okay? What technology have we not, hi Beth, what technology have we not incorporated into teaching when it happened? Okay? What technology have we not incorporated into teaching? Follow this, try that. Hi, Paul. Nice to meet you.
We're sitting next door.
Oh, good thing. You know, it is goofy, I noticed that. It seems to point that way. So any combination of a face-to-face and an online course, but truly, you think about it, every technology that's ever come along, teachers have tried to grab it and teach with it. Whether it was 8mm film or any particular technology, now we're taking it to the next level. Blending a face-to-face pedagogy with the hudagogy required to design an online environment. Pedagogy versus hudagogy. Pedagogy, from the Greek word ped, as in child, to lead a child. Pedagogy. This is where everybody's training centers. This is where most of us are stuck. Okay? Hudagogy, from the Greek hut, which implies to lead discovery. And this has been a major shift in my thinking as a teacher. I had a long time ago, I had a mentor who told me, the more you're doing, the more you're learning. The more the kids are doing, the more they're learning. And I don't think I got that fully infused into my classroom for a decade later. But now, focusing on hudagogy. Okay? What can I do to relinquish instructor control on this end of the spectrum towards student-learner autonomy? And that's been my focus for some time. Okay? Blended learning has come to describe some sort of spectrum of that traditional mixture. Okay? Classroom practices intertwined with infused online resources, and whether you're flipping your classroom, whether you're doing an in-class flip, whether all the blended stuff is online or not, however you're blending, I would say tweak it to what you're doing, okay? And it's going to be a wonderful deal. So just briefly, what does blended learning look like in my world? Been tinkering with this for a while. And so, let's take a look. This is my website. Built this myself. I'm a bit of a web geek. And what I have now is basically for each topic, for each unit of study, I have probably anywhere from 3 to 7 web pages. So, for example, this is Introduction to Classical Genetics. I clicked on something. Come on now. Get back there, you. Careful, don't click on things. Okay. I have, in this instance, I refer to them as stages. Okay. Actually had a wonderful student teacher from UNI several jeepers back in probably about 2012, 2013. We discussed a modularity approach to this, and she built something like this for her experience. We called them stages. I swiped it from her and haven't looked back. So in this instance, classical genetics has 6 stages: an introduction, investigation of Gregor Mendel, the monohybrid or following one trait, variations to dominance. So what if it's not? What if it's again a blended situation where red flowers and white flowers make pink flowers? How does that work? Following 2 traits at one time, the classic dihybrid cross, and then an application, in this case, the coat color of Labrador retrievers. So in order for the students to be introduced to this, they'll have a series of links here. They will have typically anywhere from 2 to 6 YouTube videos. They will have as-needed vocabulary on the left-hand sidebar. I use a hover technique over here, so if they hover over any word over here, it pops up a definition that I've written. I encourage my students not to Google. Okay, if you bump into something you need to know, don't Google it. Come back to my resources. I've Googled for you. These are the best resources. They're the best resources because they're at your reading level. They're hopefully going to be eye-catching for you, and a lot of times they'll use that. In Google now, you can hover over any word in the website and hover over it, click on it, however they do with these fancy kids, okay, and it'll pop up a definition. But I've suggested use my definitions, use my glossary of terms, if you would please, because I've written that, and hopefully that will mean a little bit more to a sophomore in high school. All of this, okay, they are going to put together, okay, and eventually they will click on what I refer to as a stage quiz. It is, the only reason I'm calling it a quiz, it's a formative assessment. It's a digital formative assessment. Okay? It's basically a digital study guide. When I speak at the stage quizzes with parents, I immediately introduce them to the stage quiz concept, and then for the rest of the time I'm talking with a parent, I call it a digital study guide. Okay? It's open resources, open note, open neighbor, open Mugan. Okay? Come on in here, sit down, let's work on this together, let's get it figured out. Okay? The digital online formative assessment allows me to I have complete control of that with the service I use. Allows me to give the kids 5 attempts. Okay, so they've got 5 times to go through this quiz or digital study guide in order to see this information. Okay, I've been teaching biology for a bunch of years. It's heavy information laden. If my students are getting new information, it's more than likely coming at them in this manner. Okay, there will be things that I still do in front of the classroom. Okay, we have osmotic balance situations, hypertonic, hypotonic, isotonic, which are ridiculously confusing for everybody. That will be done in front of the classroom in an old school manner. Okay? In addition to, I'm going to have them go through one of these over those same things so they get it a second time. Okay? So if it's confusing, or if it's something that if this is crucial to going on to the next idea, I'll hit it in class old school as well. Okay? But there are instances where we might deal with especially monohybrid cross. Okay? They're going to tackle that on their own in this manner. Okay? And I will cruise the room. Okay? That group's got the monohybrid cross figured out. They don't need any help from me. Off I go. This individual needs help. They don't understand the monohybrid cross. I can go through it with them one-on-one 2 or 3 times until they get it figured out. Okay? My mantra every single day is don't stop until you can explain it to a neighbor. Don't stop until you can explain it to me. That student that rarely needs my help, and I have them, okay? That student that rarely needs my help, be ready, because when I come and sit down with you, instead of you asking me questions, I'm asking you questions. Okay? Okay, so what's that monohybrid cross like? Can you show me what that would look like on a Punnett square? Can you explain it to me? And we start to have a series of conversations. Okay. So to recap, my blended learning looks like this. A series of links, videos, as needed vocab to go through a digital formative assessment. And that's where we're at. All right, my journey, just briefly, the things worth noting. Been tinkering with this for a while. 2003, took my first grad class in web design, a couple more classes in web design. 2009, a master's project in intensive use of web-based resources, which I could have relabeled blended learning, but didn't know enough at the time. 2009 began a couple blended units here and there. Started thinking, hey, this might have some promise. This is pretty cool. 2010, my daughter had a gigantic surgery at the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics. If you ever have to go down there, understand that those people are tremendous. You're going to be well taken care of. How blessed are we to have that so close to us virtually throughout the entire state. But I knew in August that I was going to be gone for a chunk of December and a chunk of January. Went to administration. I'm going to be gone. That's my little girl. And I love this school. I love my students. But I'm going to be gone because that's my little girl. Okay? I won't come back until she's able to go back to school and all. What can you do for a sub? Let's get one sub. Let's get them in there the whole time. Let's make sure it's rolling in the right direction. And as you can imagine, that did not happen. Over the course of that extended absence, I believe it had 5 different subs. Only 2 of them had any science background. Only 1 had a decent science background. Okay, I did not know that until we wrapped it up, but I saw it coming. Here's the deal, I saw that coming. And so what can I do to get my head out of the classroom and occupy my students in an engaged way that they can still learn while I'm taking care of my kid? Because I don't have time to mentally be in both places. Okay? 2011 to 2012, I came to the realization after my daughter's surgery, she's fine by the way, she's doing great, she's a senior at Wartburg College and about to graduate with a graphic design major. In 2011, I had an epiphany. That worked. My kids could email back and forth with me. I'm in Iowa City, they're in Waverly. I was still teaching, they were still learning. The person in front of them didn't have to be a content expert, and we rocked it out. Was it as good as me being there? Not the first time through. Okay, but today, what are my students doing today? Okay, they're rocking it out this way with Mrs. Carol Myers, and she is a business teacher, but distance from content expert science. But I guarantee you it's going well. From 2012 to today, learning classes, graduate certificate from UW Stout in online learning and electronic education. Constant fixing of major bugs. In 2014, we had iPads at the time at the high school. We had a little iPad update that made every single one of my embedded YouTube videos not function. The tech guy and I spun our wheels like crazy. How can we get this to work with one good fix? And what we came up with was, you've got to find each video again and re-embed it. What do you do? I did. Okay. As the students were going from unit to unit, just got the YouTube videos back on the web, basically 1 unit ahead of time, and fix it as we go. But there's always new resources out there, so constant level of rebuilding. Okay? If you would like to do anything like this, okay, I have several people now that are cooking with this sort of thing. If you would like to contact me, I would not hesitate to visit with you, communicate by email, stop into your school if you want me to. I would make that happen. Okay, I didn't do this by myself, and wouldn't expect you to either. If you need some help, I got your back. Okay. How do we do that? That has always bugged the heck out of me. Well, certainly you want to be the sage on the stage, not the, pardon, you want to be not the sage on the stage, but the guide at the side. and I haven't been in the classroom for 15 years, but you should do it. I'll be up here, and I'm going to Louisiana tomorrow, and I'll never see you again. How do you do that? I'd like to suggest I'm doing that, and blended learning lets me do it. Okay? Benefits and challenges. First of all, for students. Okay, starting with the only thing that's important. Okay, the students. Here's the deal. This creates a student-centered and constructivist classroom. Okay? Notice my classroom used to be in theater seating. If you walked in my classroom today, that's almost exactly what you see, although the students are different. One of the big buzzwords is pace and place. Buzz phrases is pace and place. Students are in charge of the pace and the place of their learning. Currently, I have students that are 2 full units ahead of where the class would traditionally be. I've got a couple students that are almost a unit behind. I have one young lady who is going to be a vet. She's guarantees me she's going to be a vet, and she is rushing through my curriculum digitally. Okay? When we do a lab in class, when we have a classroom activity, she still comes back and joins us, certainly. But as I saw her starting to work ahead, I sat down with her and I said, all right, Miss Lawson, you're going to finish. What's your plan when you're done? She hemmed and hawed for a couple of days. I said, well, what are you going to go do someday? I'm going to be a vet. I said, are you sure you want to be a vet? How about when you're done with this coursework, you dig into what a vet does. What's the schooling take? What do they make? What do they have to set up? You can set up your own practice or work for somebody else. Why don't you dig into that and share that with us as a class? Wow, you'd have thought I handed her, a Red Bull, a Snickers bar, and a free puppy. She was very excited about that. Okay. Access to information. My course schedule's on the home page. It's an embedded Google Calendar, and the kids can get to anything. I will typically have that set up for the entire semester in terms of the digital content. Okay? So the digital content is out there for the entire semester. They can run ahead with it if they want to. Okay? But it definitely eliminates those issues of Mr. Spicoli asking, dude, how's it going? Did we do anything? One of my favorite questions. The digital formative assessments gives me a great deal of feedback, and it gives the students immediate feedback. Okay? I've always wanted some way for students to learn from their failures. This lets them do that. Okay? So here I have, this is the service I used, and one of the feedback pieces for a student. Here's the response you got incorrect. I can put in links for those incorrect responses. Try this link, you're going to grab some information that's going to help you out. Yes. Yep. The service I use it's pronounced TRIA. It's QUIA.com. It is a very dependable, relatively inexpensive quizzing service, and you must have recognized it from its colors and such.
Yep.
Okay. I've been using it for about, probably 9 years. We've had one wrinkle that whole time. One. Remarkably durable, remarkably dependable. Increased peer interactions, collaboration, the social nature of learning. I can have students doing different things other than just the digital materials. So I've developed a lot more manipulatives for things like chemical pathways, vocab words, things like that. And we have time and opportunity in class to work those things through. Without a doubt, the last 3 years, differentiation has been one of the biggest advantages for students. Okay? I have this semester, I have 6 courses, 6 course sections, and 3 of those course sections are co-taught with special ed teacher. We have some students that are significantly challenged that wouldn't be able to handle this. Okay? I had one special ed student that was absolutely blown out of the water by the fact that this is something he needed to do, but it was at the bottom of the page. And I never thought about that ever. Okay? So, what do? Well, since the students are in charge of the pace and the place, I can give them different options. This is, well, a couple things. Number one, anytime I have a link that says Mugan Explains, that's some sort of screen capture that I've done. Okay? Some sort of screen capture that I've done, putting the students in charge of, you need to skip ahead because you get this, you've got to figure it out, or do I need to watch that 2 or 3 times in order to figure it out? Videos, right? And then the students can choose which of those videos they want to watch. Or I have some students that won't do any of the text-based stuff. I've got one young man that's basically a non-reader. Okay, he is so dyslexic, he's basically a non-reader this semester, and we have agreed that his only challenge, the only way he's going to challenge himself is going to be with the videos. The text stuff just isn't going to work for him. Okay. And he's rocking it out. But there are definitely things that I just cannot bring students as a presenter. And for differentiation, I can use something like the timeline of human evolution from the Smithsonian Institute to make things for my advanced students very much more engaging, very much more interactive, detailed information. So not only am I trying to differentiate on one end for the kids that are struggling, I can also differentiate on the other end for the kids that would like to be challenged further. Outstanding. Without a doubt, I've gotten a chance to interact with my students more. Okay? And so, we're talking about building relationships. Okay? As I just checked my watch, we're going to scoot along. I'm so sorry. If you got questions, just spout them out. Autonomy and learning builds a can-do mindset. This is a quote from end of the year survey from one of my students. This individual was a decent student, but not one of my best ever. I like that you treat me like I can learn things on my own. Ask questions when you need to. I'm going to come around and make sure you're doing all right. Challenges for the students. This will be difficult. This is different. This is not sit and get. Okay? This is not a passive learning environment. You can't walk into my room and sit and expect it's going to work. The students have to engage, and you've got to lean into it. Okay? But for some of my kids that just aren't grabbing it right away, you can't push a car out of the snowbank in February without leaning into that thing. Okay? If we're not leaning into the work, it's not going to happen. Student challenges. Definitely buy-in. If a student struggles with this, and many of them will, if a student struggles with this level of autonomy in their learning, then toward the pedagogical end of the spectrum, they're going to point to the things that are different. If you just taught the traditional way and talk to me, I'd be doing much better. Okay? I don't learn on computers. I don't like computers. I'm learning this way. Okay? Basically, the online learning becomes their excuse. I'm not doing well in class because of the way Mugan's teaching it with the online resources. And we got to battle that. Regular encouragement, okay, regular success. We do get a regular Fierro moment. That moment that every human being's experienced. The international symbol for it is yes, 2 hands in the air. Yes, I got this. And I have little teeny snippets of that as a student goes from I got 85% on this digital formative assessment to 95% to my neighbor helped me with a question. Now it's 100%. Bam, fear. All of my students know they get 5 attempts at those digital study guides, and the expectation is 100%. In being transparent with the students, I will tell them we may have a couple of special go-hawks in the room. They're going to get their way to 85%. And that's going to be a challenge for them. But most of the students in my room, 5 tries, you got to get 100%. Okay, if you haven't got 100%, you just haven't got 100% yet. Student challenges, device maintenance is huge. Okay? And because of this, back in the day when we were doing a lot of writing, they walk in without a pencil, what do? We hand them a pencil. Today, I've got extension cords, extra chargers, ample opportunity to plug in if they need to. Okay, Mr. Mugan, my device isn't charged. You know where the extension cords are, you know where the chargers are, there's no excuse. Okay? Broken screens used to be a big deal. We've got Chromebooks now. We have a new bag that does not leave the Chromebook. The Chromebook does not leave the bag. We've had very few broken screens since then. But we do have some purposeful mismanagement. Well, I can't do my work in Mugan's class because my keyboard's all broken. That keyboard didn't break itself, folks. So, but again, it's just, here's the deal. This is teaching, it's still teaching. Okay? It's still students, they're giving me feedback by their behavior, and if I don't have them bought in yet for the material and get them excited about biology, it doesn't matter how I'm teaching it, they're still going to avoid it in some way, shape, or form. Okay? Student challenges is definitely, this is a huge one. Self-paced difficulties. I got to study all next hour. No, you got to study all about me. Okay? I'll do your stuff right now so I can answer your questions. Okay? Procrastination, games. And ultimately, especially for those students that are running a bit behind, this is the bare bones minimum you have to get done to get a credit for this course, and there's an end to the semester. So I have, my administration's pretty flexible. I have awarded kids an incomplete. The old school incomplete said in our student handbook says you get 2 weeks to make that up, and then the grade turns to an F. I did have a student this summer finish their spring semester of biology on July 13th. Because my administration said, if they're just not done yet, keep nudging them. And we worked together through something. Okay. I'm no saint, that drove me nuts, I will tell you that. Okay. It creates blended learning benefits for teachers. Okay. Why have I found this passionate? Creates a student-centered, constructivist classroom. Okay. Increased student engagement. Okay. I learned my kids' names quicker. I knew last spring, relatively early on in February time, after all the snow days in the polar vortex, I relatively quickly learned, oh, you're missing a bunch of class because mom was just diagnosed with breast cancer. And I went from being the get here teacher, what's your problem, to, oh, that's your problem, how can I help support you? Okay. Benefits for teachers. Once I've got this set up, it's about maintenance, it's about finding the new cool thing online, but my digital stuff's always prepped, and it always gives me an out. Okay? That lab finished early, get on your digital stuff. 0 wasted time. They can save their digital formative assessment at the end of the class period, so that, hey, Mr. Mugan, there's only 3 minutes left, I'm just going to hang out, and I'm not going to start the next digital formative assessment. You can hit save at the end of the hour, get 2 questions done before you walk out of here. But for me, I'm pretty well always prepped, and that gives me time to work on the other part of my class, the face-to-face stuff, that now I can be much more creative with. Current, pertinent, and engaging online material. And that's all I'm saying about that. That is a picture of the books I used at one time. Okay. Differentiation, design flexibility. I have some students that need more direct help. This is too nebulous for them, and so I have gone to this system. Okay? I've got some special ed students that don't work with Mugan's biology page. This is a hyperlinked document that is much more straightforward. Okay? So, Luke, come on in here, Luke. This is how you're going to do your stuff. What's biodiversity? That's the link you click to figure out what biodiversity is. Okay? I've got some challenges with this. They don't get the feedback like they do with the other service. I don't see it quite as quickly. I've got to dig in there and get the feedback for them, but it gives them a chance to be successful. So that in itself is worth foregoing or for giving up the immediate feedback that the other kids are getting. But my kids can do this, no matter where they're at. My kids can do this. They can sit with an associate and work through this, no matter what level they're at. Ooh, and time. That's not the only one. That's for Luke. I can make another one at this level for Jackson. Okay, just by grabbing a new link. What's biodiversity? That might be a 7th grade link for Luke. Okay, I got a kid in class named Jackson who's working at about 3rd, 4th grade level. Okay, what does he do? I get him a different. I'm getting him basically 3rd, 4th grade level YouTube videos for those links. That's how he's able to experience his biology. Blended learning benefits for teachers, definitely pace. Okay, this particular picture, this is Schwem. Love that kid, hate that kid all at the same time. He is on permanent life instructions, never to speak to me again, and I bump into him all the time. We have a nice chat, it's wonderful. But Schwem was regularly working behind on his stuff, especially labs. These 2 individuals are done with their lab the day before, the lab material is still out. These guys are working on digital formative assessments and formative stage quizzes, and Schwem and his partner are finishing up their lab. Tons of data. I know who's doing what, I know where the class is failing, okay? I know where the class is learning yet, if I may say it that way, okay? Data, just tons of data. I can tell you what we've finished, okay? So here we have a block of, this is my grade book from the quiz service. This is my block of stage quizzes that are already done with digital formative assessments. I can tell where students are currently working. I can tell who is struggling and needs an immediate intervention. Okay, that's my English language learner who was having a very difficult time with this whole thing. Okay, how can I get him supported? And I can also tell those kids that are maybe languishing with what we're working on right now. They can do it. They need a little bit of what I refer to as thumb on the side technique. Let's go. Okay. Blended learning benefits for teachers. I'm all about the elimination of excuses by allowing the kids ample opportunity to be successful. Okay. This is Brad. I did ask Brad if I could use this picture. And this was, you'd be surprised, second day into the semester, that's what Brad's stuff looked like. I wish I was kidding. And I always wondered, I believe that's a math book, if I remember right, and that's a history book. What teacher kept handing Brad papers? And Brad barely graduated. Okay. But absolutely charming young man and would work his tail off. But organization wasn't to be his thing. All my content's online. The content that's not digital through the website is Google Classroom or otherwise digitally pushed out to them. Flexibility. The snowpocalypse followed by the polar vortex and 17 days of snow days. We had 9. How many did you guys have? Last winter. Had 6. How do you deal with 9 snow days? Now, my administrator came to me and said, could we use what you're doing to have the kids work at home on snow days? Oh gosh, no. No, take it. It's a spontaneous day off. Mother Nature's handed it to you. Go take it. But we can be much more flexible with how we're responding to that when they get back. Okay? Flexibility in terms of absences. This gentleman did show up to my class in a cape. It was not a dress-up day, and I don't want to speak about it anymore. I've blocked that out of my memory except for that picture. What are my students doing right now? Right now. Okay? They're working through these systems as is appropriate for them, and I know that my kids are engaged. I know that my kids are learning, even though I'm not there. Modularity of topics. Several years ago, my department, and I think very wisely, decided to flop semesters. Ecology is now the first semester of biology, and cells and genetics is now the second semester of biology. I have to redesign this whole thing. It's modular. Just put a different link on the calendar, zip, I'm set to go. This gives us time to do our lab work and do it well. All I have to say is, this lab's going to take 3 days instead of 2. We were going to work on Wednesday on stage 2. You guys have to do stage 2 at home, and we're going to spend the next day in this lab. That's usually a thumbs up from the kids because they hopefully are finding what we're doing in the lab intriguing anyway. Time flexibility for field trips. This is my science issues class out in the last remaining prairie remnant in Bremer County. The only reason we still have it is because it was a cemetery back in the mid-1800s. Okay, but that's original Iowa native prairie, and my kids have stood on it. And my kids have seen that it's about 1.5 acres, and that's all we got left. Flexibility for debates and discussions. My next step, when I get good at this stuff, my next step is going to be online discussions for smaller groups in my classroom. That's a step I need to take, and that's where I intend to head next. But my program allows me flexibility to do that. Here we are monitoring the stream northeast of town. Okay, this is Mr. Fox. Yeah. He happens to know Mr. Fox. Yeah. Mr. Fox's white shirt and tie was he back in the day as well?
Always.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine not. That's Mr. Fox, my principal, and hip waders and a white shirt and tie. Gonna roll those sleeves up, Mr. Fox? No, not a chance. Okay. This is some field work on the prairie from last spring. Okay, that's me in B-row. He wore his Chewbacca hoodie every day for 1.5 years until it stopped fitting. Kid loves Chewbacca. Flexibility for in-class projects. Here we're building a 3D model of DNA, and all I have to say is that's going to stretch an extra day. I had 2 days scheduled for it. It's going to stretch to day 3, get the digital stuff done outside of class. interaction with students, building relationships. This is one of my co-teachers, Mr. Clay Workman, who's now in the Ankeny area. Okay. Always time for a quick headlock. This young man was thrust into our wrestling program. WSR's got a little wrestling program now. He was thrust in there at the varsity level because he was the weight they needed. And he hung in there. He was all right. Okay. This is Jandy. The young man's given name was George. He went by Andy because George wasn't necessarily popular with his peers. I didn't know that, so the first day I called him George, it caused him some consternation, which he expressed to me, so I said, "Man, just call you Jandy." That was his name for the rest of the year. Okay. Building relationships that last. This young lady was Iowa Governor's Teacher of the Year, Governor's Scholar of the Year. She, how's that go? Iowa Governor's Scholar of the Year? Something along those lines. She chose me as her teacher to represent her. This is me with facial hair and going almost 290. I'm feeling a little bit better today, thanks for noticing. Okay. Relationships that last. This young lady invited me back to Wartburg College when she was graduating as a special honor, and she is off to Creighton University in bioinformatics and environmental sciences. What you're going to have to do, if you want to tackle this, okay, what you're going to have to do is definitely move from information deliverer, because now that's not my job anymore, okay, to being a coach of learning behaviors. What does it mean to be in a productive struggle? How do you lean into your work? We set goals at the beginning of the semester. You're telling me you're going to pay attention in class and you're going to do all your work. What does pay attention in class mean when we're working this way? And how can I coach you to do that better? Definitely buy-in. When you get started, buy-in. I've been doing it for 8 years now. This is the 8th year where it's the way I teach, buy-in. Every new student that comes to me, and we get kids that, right now I have kids that I've had for almost a full year, and right now I've had kids that I've just had since August. Okay? When those new kids come in, they've never seen this system before, how do they buy into it? Fellow faculty, I had a fellow faculty member last year say, "It sure would be nice if my kids were just watching YouTube videos all day," and I had to politely respond to that. Co-teachers, my special ed co-teachers, associates, and parents. If I just taught the way that they were taught when they were in the classroom, their kid would be getting any, no question. Okay? Preparation changes, maintenance, design improvement are almost constant, okay? But it's different. I don't photocopy anything. My photocopy time saved is time I can use to maintain my website. Preparation changes. This is not something, back in the day, I used to prep my first high school. I had 6th-hour prep for my 4th prep of the day of environmental science. And I prepped environmental science 6th hour for my 7th-hour class every day for a year. Okay? Why? Because I had 4 preps, I was coaching 2 sports, and I was head of the student senate. Who does that to young people? Okay? We do all the time. But you can't do that with this. The unit's got to be ready to roll. If you're going to let them go at their own pace, okay? Miss Lawson's going to do the whole semester. She's going to finish probably before Christmas. And if that's not ready for her, you can't roll it out that way. Did I do this overnight? No. That was chunk. That may have taken 3-4 years before I got to a point where I could let a student roll through the semester. Okay? When's the last time you heard, what can I do with this increased class time? Because at any moment I can tell them, especially those things that I know they're going to be able to deal with, and as I get a feel for the kids, can they deal with this on their own? Monohybrid, my kid's going to be able to tackle that and not have a problem. So we're not going to do the monohybrid in class, they're going to do that digitally at home, and so I've got at least a day's time on my hands. What can we do? Can I focus on vocab? Can we do an activity? Can we have a discussion of genetics? Can we do an activity? Teacher challenges, and there's going to be some. Device issues, things that get parked. For a while, all of YouTube was parked in our district. But hey, you can't block all of YouTube. That's a lot of learning material that's suddenly gone. Wi-Fi connectivity, blocked, broken links. I had, just still battling through this fall, Maricopa Community College. Love whoever they are, don't even know where they're at, but they had an online, a digital textbook for biology that was at a decent level that I could use. So I had links on virtually every page, and they changed somewhere. They changed something in their URL address. Can't find the online textbook anymore, and it's gone. So I need to find a new resource. Benefits for co-teachers, and I think this is an exceptional benefit, an exceptional advantage for blended learning. My special ed teachers walk in, they're a valued teacher in the room, okay? They're not just an observer, they're not just a note taker. My first 10 years at WSR, I taught with an amazing human being named Maria Paith, but she was a note taker in the back of my room. She is excellent with young people, okay? She left teaching. I wish I would teach this way with Maria in my room so that she could teach the kids, right? Instead of sitting in the back of my room wishing she wasn't sitting on an uncomfortable stool. This is my guy, Clay Workman, right? They don't have to be a content expert to sit with a kid and say, let's find that next answer. They don't have to be a content expert to nudge a kid with a thumb and say, what are we doing? What's next on the list? How can I help you? And they don't have to be a content expert to say, I'm not sure with that one, let's get Mugan over here. Okay. But by the time, he and I worked together for 3 years, by the time he was done with year 2, he was answering a lot of the biology questions. Okay. This is Deb Wadding on the far left-hand side. Deb and I have taught together now for 11 years, and she is excellent at, okay, these are the materials we need for Jackson, because you don't forget he's at a 3rd grade, 4th grade level. And I'll get him his materials, you just need to set up a document so I can put those links in there. Mrs. Seahusen, I'm not going to read these to you, I don't mean to insult your intelligence. We co-taught together 2 years ago. Mr. Knipe and I are kindred spirits that love that dude. More motivated when they have some control regarding their learning. Autonomy is motivational. Okay, when I have some skin in the game, oh, I suddenly want to do this. I'm not addicted to coffee, we're in a committed relationship. Blended learning allows me, as a co-teacher, to see the progress in areas my students are struggling in. Mr. Wilbur. Mrs. Wadding, who I've taught with for 11 years. And at this point, you might ask yourself, how many people has he co-taught with? Oh my gosh. Willowborg, Knipe, Seahusen, Wadding, Workman, Wolvatney. I didn't get a quote back from Wolvatney. But here's the deal. I went to the administration, and I've said, as I was in my own little world, why am I co-teaching with all these people? Do you not understand how much time it takes to build that relationship, get them into my system, have them understand what's going on, and have them truly come in and teach in my room? What are you doing to me? And by gosh, if Fox didn't come right back at, he knows David Fox, my principal. If Mr. Fox didn't come right back at me and say, I know there'll be a valued teacher in your room, I know you guys are going to rock it out, and I feel comfortable putting anybody in there. Well, God, don't compliment me. I came in here to complain about something. Blended learning benefits for parents, access to schedule and details. Okay, we're gonna take those 2 days before break. Okay, or this happens at WSR all the time. We're gonna take the week before break. Is there anything they can be doing over your break time when we get back? Okay, and people ask me why I don't have hair anymore. Okay, this is the home page of mugansbiologypage.com. It's not a .com. I made a .com in 2003 because I didn't know any better. But this is my embedded calendar. They know what's going on. They can look ahead. If I got somebody that's going to miss a couple days before Christmas, they can go look at that right now. Access to details. When's the exam? When's the project? When's that stage due? Okay, when are things late? And just like my co-teachers, access to the online content allows them to sit and encourage their student if their student's having some trouble, even though they're not a content expert. I can't imagine that a parent and a child doing homework together are always that enjoyable and amiable with each other. There you go. Okay? Absolutely no question, parents will respect your efforts. Okay, when parents come to parent-teacher conference and they're loaded for bear with those, hey, why aren't you doing it this way kinds of questions, and I show them, your student is supported in every possible way. And if they're not getting it that way, I will sit with them one-on-one and explain it to them. Again. When they see that my materials can go any kind of platform, iPad, phone, Chromebook, it doesn't matter. Okay? When they see that you've built something for their kid to be successful, you'll have their respect just like that. Benefits for students, teachers, parents, people. You're 29 in the classroom. I don't see myself doing anything else, mainly because I'm not qualified and who wants my bedside manner. But number two, when I started doing this, I got re-energized for working with young people. Okay? Spend more time with them. Find a way to engage them with the content so that you can spend more time with them. And this job will become more rewarding, more enjoyable, and you'll be absolutely reflushed with the passion for why you started this business however many years ago. What kinds of questions do you guys have?
How do you make your own videos, or do you find pre-made on YouTube?
Both. If it's, I absolutely love Crash Course, Amoeba Sisters. The Amoeba Sisters are a little cutesy, but it gets it done. And almost any other YouTube video I can. But if it's something very specific that I want explained this way, or I think I have a nice memory hook or a way of explaining it that I think is unique, then I'll do my own. There's usually a Mugan Explains video on almost every subject. But if there's, there are some that there's not. Didn't completely reinvent the wheel. If I had one place that I could improve upon dramatically, it'd be making a video. Right now I'm sitting in front of a Chromebook, click, and whatever's in the background's in the background, and it's rudimentary at best, but hey, we've got something to improve upon. So, outstanding. Anything else?
Have you seen long-term, like over the last 8 years, changes in student achievement, or is it like how does that balance itself?
Outstanding. My research project for my master's degree in 2009 statistically compared traditionally taught biology classroom with a blended biology classroom. And what we did was we did an ANOVA variance test to statistically comparing their standardized test scores at the time back to one unit test. Certainly my hypothesis was this was going to blow everything out of the water. This is the magic bullet for education and everybody should be doing this. What we found was this is another effective way to teach. Okay? And while that was a little bit disappointing, at least I have evidence to show that it is another effective way to teach. I would argue there are some side effects, so to speak. The chance that I can sit down and have a conversation with a kid at almost any time students are working on this in my classroom. That level of freedom, that level of blessing to be able to sit with my kids is definitely worth it. And along that same line, I've got some young people that I'm, my young man is sort of dyslexic, he's basically a non-reader. We're doing more things verbally. Formative assessments are still digital, but all of his summative assessments are verbal. He needed to retake one of those the other day, and he's scrapping. Man, I don't know when I'm gonna have a time to come in, Mr. Mugan, and get this taken care of when you have prep time or before school, after school. So we'll just do a class. So students are working, Deb Wadding's out there helping the kids, and we slunk back to my office and quizzed him verbally again. So. If this is something you're even remotely interested in tinkering with, okay, people, if you're gonna eat an elephant, you gotta eat it one bite at a time, okay? I would suggest not starting with the tail. But if you want help, okay, the number of people that helped me along the way to get this done, the number of people that have helped me in 29 years of teaching, zip me an email, okay, or grab one of these little green cards they gave us if you want to be in contact and be in touch. If you want to share with me, hey, this is what I've been working on, what do you think? I absolutely got your back. We were in the same trenches together, okay? That's my stuff. Thank you guys so much. Go fight, teach. Thank you.